guys! How many times this week have you made spaghetti trying to avoid another plate of rice and beans? I feel you. So how about trying something different, like maybe Chinese? The thing is, if Chinese where you live is like Chinese where I live, it's made up of one ingredient, MSG. So why don't you let me teach you how to make it at home, but more fresh and tastier. Check out my sweet and sour chicken with Chinese fried rice. I love ethnic food, and it's hard to find here in Nicaragua, especially because I don't live in the capital. So I have a friend who lives in Caña de Castilla. She's Canadian, and we were talking one day about how we really miss ethnic food, and she told me that she had a batch of recipes that she was trying, one of which was for the sweet and sour chicken that we're going to make. So when we made it, I thought, well, what better with sweet and sour chicken than Chinese fried rice? Honestly, made up the Chinese fried rice with some just basic ingredients that seemed somewhat Asian, but it turns out really good. We're gonna make Chinese fried rice to go with our sweet and sour chicken. And then these are the basic ingredients. We've got chopped onion, chopped ginger, chopped garlic, and then these are some green onions. Scallions. So basically we're going to start frying the two hardest vegetables first, the onion and the ginger, in some oil. And then right as they're finishing, we'll put in the garlic and the scallion because they need a little less time. They've changed colors, they're super golden. And you can tell they're done too because you can smell them really well. So you want to put the rest of the vegetables in? And honestly they need like 10 seconds. Okay, so my veg are done in the oil, so now I'm just going to add the rice. This is just basic white rice, actually out of the bin at the grocery store. So all we've done is washed it to get out any like pieces of dirt. And then washing it also helps get some of the starch out so you can toast it better. That way it doesn't stick. It's not like that really mushy, sticky rice. It actually is loose. Every kernel's loose. And it kind of gets that toasty flavor to it. And if you're living in Nicaragua and have ever watched a Nicaraguan make their daily portion of rice, you know how to toast rice. That is the Nicaraguan style. So honestly, that's probably good enough. The rice is coated. And I can see that my rice isn't clumpy. Now I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit and add the same amount of water. So basically when you make rice, you just want to add water until it covers the rice. You don't have to do a whole 2-to-1 ratio or anything like that. You just want to cover the top of your rice. So at this point, once I add the water, I'm going to add the last Asian ingredient, which is salsa china. This was a complete accidental buy. I thought I was buying soy sauce, and I didn't. This is salsa china. Don't ask me what it is, but it has a really nice flavor, and if you're trying to make something kind of Asian, it totally works. So I put in like maybe a tablespoon of it in this. It's like really gloopy. See that? It's a lot thicker than soy sauce. And it's not as salty as soy sauce, so I'm also going to put in just a little bit of salt. Okay, so this is what we want. It's going to bubble like this. This is why we increase the heat. It's going to bubble like this, and then what you're going to start to see is it's going to go down, and you're going to start forming like holes, almost in a circle, in the middle of the rice. So you're going to see that in a minute, and when that happens, we're going to turn the heat all the way down to low and cover it, and the rest of it is going to steam. 15 minutes and you got rice. I grew up in a really big family. My mom was definitely a proponent of independent women. So from a very young age, she taught us how to do things for ourselves, one of which was each of us, there are 4 girls in my family, one night a week we each had to prepare a meal for our family of 7 within the family's budget, and a healthy, well-balanced meal, not just any meal. So yeah, from a young age I learned how to cook and liked it, and then growing up, you know, trying new things and new methods and figuring out what worked for me. Okay, so basically we're there. You've got bubbles around the edge, and you see these bubbles in the middle. You can see how like the water's bubbling out because it's already reduced past the level, the top level of the rice. Those holes, that's what you want. So now I'm going to turn it all the way down, and I'm going to top it. Just salt and pepper. Honestly, I put salt and pepper on everything. Okay, so what you're looking at here is just 2 fat chicken breasts that have been cut up into pieces. You want bite-sized pieces. You do not want big pieces because we're going to fry these. And the bigger they are, the longer they're going to take to fry and more chance you have of burning them. You don't want that. I'm going to tell you a secret. To get a good batter on something that you're frying, whether it be these little chicken nuggets, whether it be fried fish, whether you are making even chicken cutlets, don't go mixing up a bunch of flour with ingredients and spices. You don't have to do any of that. Pancake mix. It's your best friend, and it's really cheap. You can get a bag of pancake mix. It's about 1.5 cups of pancake mix for about 9 quarter bucks. And don't follow the back of the directions where you're adding oil and water and egg. No, just dump the dry ingredients in, mix them with water, and then whisk it up until you get a consistency that it's not thin, but it's not real thick either. My chicken doesn't sink all the way to the bottom. I gotta push it through. It coats really nicely without sliding all the way off, and it's gonna stick to the chicken. So when you fry it, you're gonna have a great puffy crust that's not too salty, it's not too sweet, it is perfect. So we're gonna get started dumping this chicken in. And it sounds crazy, but because you're cutting them into such small strips and then you have the breading and the rice filler on top of it, with just 2 chicken breasts, you will not believe the amount of nuggets we're going to get out of this. And you could easily feed 4 people with it. So these were the 2 special ingredients that we used in the Chinese fried rice, which, you know, you can actually find in your local market. I was really surprised. I did not know that Nicaraguans use them so frequently. Ginger, which here, if you're in the market, you're going to call it jengibre. And then these are green onions, which they sell in a bunch like this, and they're going to be called cebollita. They're both incredibly inexpensive, and from what I've seen, pretty easy to find. So this is how you're going to know they're ready to flip. Because you're using pancake batter, it's basically the same rule as pancakes. When you see brown around the edges like that, you are ready to go. Look at that. Beautiful color. Okay, so if frying intimidates you, I'm going to share with you a little bit. Really, I just learned how to fry a few months ago. I was raised with a very health-conscious mother who, you know, did not eat fried food in her household, and she never taught me how to fry. And I continued to practice for a long time. So really, I started practicing once I had some roommates who were willing to risk a few grease burns to help me out. And little by little, I have perfected it. So if you are intimidated about this recipe because it involves frying, I promise you, if I can do it and they can come out as pretty as this, you can do it. This is how you're going to know when it's time to take them out. Remember when we first put these chicken in here, how it did that really angry fizz and they really started getting it cooking? Well, now you see they're real calm. They're just kind of sitting there and they're barely making any noise. That's because they are completely done. So we're going to take these out. We're going to set them to drain, and they'll form a really nice crispy outer layer as they dry. So we can't have sweet and sour chicken without a great sauce. And you've probably had a lot of takeout sweet and sour chicken and been addicted to that bright red sauce and thought, what is in there that's making it so good? Well, you'll be disappointed when you hear the ingredients. It's really nothing fancy, it's nothing special, it's nothing expensive. It's local ingredients and ketchup. Ketchup. When you moved to Nicaragua and you started seeing how things were cooked, and how much ketchup is used, you probably snubbed your nose like I did. But you know what, the more I investigate ethnic cooking, there are so many places around the world that use ketchup as a base for sauces. And it makes sense. It's inexpensive and easy to find. So what I have mixed up here is just a half cup of ketchup, a 1/4 cup of vinegar, any vinegar you want, the cheapest one you can find. If it's that white distilled vinegar, that's fine. A 1/2 cup of sugar, a 1/4 cup of water, and another good tablespoon of that salsa china that we had used in the fried rice. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set that to start to bubble. You'll see right now, it kind of looks like that. It's just kind of rust color, it's kind of watery. It's going to reduce and it's going to turn really syrupy. And that'll only take about 10 minutes. And then we'll have a great sauce for our sweet and sour chicken. The longest part is the frying, because you got to do it in batches. Because you know when they stick together here, that's kind of what you get. Which honestly, it tastes the same. It's just not so pretty. And sometimes where they connect, it's a little battery still. Look like great crunch. That's not from pancake batter. Listen to this. Listen to this. Ready? We got a dish on the road. Mama's hungry. But I do recommend that you test the flavor of the sauce, because you have to remember, if you're from like Canada or the States, ketchup here is not that nice tart tomato-y flavor like what we have at home. It's really sweet. So sometimes if it's a local ketchup, it can come out a little extra sweet. So let's check this out. Okay, so for me that's a little sweet. We got to remember we're making sweet and sour chicken, so you want a little tart in there. So what I'm going to do, the same vinegar that I used in the original recipe, I'm going to do about a tablespoon at a time until it has a nice tartness to it. So I think with one more we'll have to be okay, perfect. So that's going to coat our chicken great. So our sweet and sour chicken is finally finished. We had a mountain of chicken, but my plate is finally done. So let's cut into this bad boy and see what she looks like. Okay, there we go. We got chicken, we got crispy pancake, along with our ginger rice and sauce. It's so good. It's savory chicken and savory ginger rice, but then you have that sweetness from the pancake batter and that great sweet and tangy sauce. You guys have got to make this. In the US, you can drive down one street and you can see Chinese, Thai, Mexican, Indian restaurants all in one place. For us, foreign food is familiar food. And when we move to Central America, sometimes we lose that because they feel like what we probably miss from home are things like hamburgers, hot dogs, and French fries. So if we want something different, what do we have to do? Make it at home. Well, now you can learn how. Just stick with me on Familiar Foreign.